Jackrabbit is essentially a knees off of the carriage version of knee stretch. So the movement pattern is essentially the same. We're just doing it more in a plank position with the knees off the carriage. So because of that, the focus of the exercise is very similar to knee stretch. It's just a little bit more challenging of a variation. It's a little bit more advanced. So we've got quad, hamstrings, and glutes. We've got upper body and scapular stability, and overall trunk stability and core strength. Springs for Jackrabbit can vary depending on what you're wanting the focus to be. So traditionally, this is still taught with a heavier spring, as is knees down knee stretch. So you could be on like a red and a blue, one green. Typically not going to go a ton heavier than that. But on the flip side of that, you could do this on a blue or a yellow to add challenge more on the pulling in of the carriage instead of the pushing out. So you can make an argument for either, but traditionally we're going to work on a slightly heavier spring for this. So for our setup, we can climb onto the carriage. Hands will come onto your foot bar and toes tuck onto your shoulder blocks. So very similarly to how we started our knee stretch. From here, you can gently pick those knees up off of the carriage, and I'm still going to shift my hips back so that my hips are behind my knees. So we're in a hip flex position. Pelvis is relatively level with the upper body. From there, we push back through the hamstrings and glutes and pull back in. Push back and pull. Push back and pull. Common problems here are similar to other things that we see in plank position. So number one is, like in knees down, knee stretch, people will try to be up here and then they don't have anywhere to go. So you've really got to cue that weight back over the legs, but this takes a lot of strength to be able to maintain. So sometimes if you're seeing people in really falsy movement patterns with this exercise, they may just not quite be ready for that, and we want to go back to knees down, knee stretch. For our other common problems here, we always want to watch upper body alignment, so just making sure that people are not sinking into the shoulders. We're pressed through the arms, open through the chest, weight back over the hips, and that we're really just moving the legs in and out, but not pushing the carriage out from the arms as you move. For modifications here, as I said, this can be a very challenging exercise. So you could just kind of go back down to knees down, knee stretch. But another great option here is to grab your box and put it on short waist. And we do that entire exercise with the heels hiked up on the box, hips drop back, chest forward. So this gives people a little bit of a different dynamic here. You've got something to press into through the heels, and it changes the distance you are away from the foot bar, which can help people a lot. So this is one of my favorite ways to modify this and make it a little bit more accessible for people. If you want to add even more challenge to this exercise that's already very challenging, we can add a single leg variation. So same start position, hips relatively in line with the shoulders, neutral spine, and we extend one leg back towards the wall behind you. You bend that knee in as you press the carriage out, and then extend it as you pull back in. So it's a little bit of a running motion here. And the main thing that we want to watch out for is that people are actually doing that running motion. A lot of times people will start to try to do the legs in the same direction. So just reminding them that legs are doing the opposite can be helpful.